Hello, everybody. Bobby Medina here with my dear friend, Paul Barron, and we are bringing you a really special guest. He's well known in the performance and recording community. His resume includes work on over 5,000 recording sessions with 50 plus Grammy nominated and 25 Grammy winning recordings and dozens of Stellar and Dove Award nominated and winning recordings. He's been a horn arranger on multiple recording projects that have won all these awards. He's performed with some stellar artists. I could go all day talking about who he's performed with, but I'll drop a few names: Demi Lovato, Steven Tyler, Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, Queen Latifah, Zach Brown Band. The list goes on and on. Just a couple of his TV appearances include The Tonight Show, Late Night with Letterman, Ellen, Jimmy Kimmel, one of my favorites, Austin City Limits. And he's also performed with the Nashville Symphony, the Chattanooga Symphony, the Orchestra Kentucky, Nashville, and Knoxville. So welcome, Vinnie Ciesielski.
Woo!
Hey, you got it.
Did I get it right?
I'm glad you had to do the pronunciation because I think I'd have to practice that a little bit longer than our time would allow. But welcome, Vinnie Trumpet. So, Vinnie, I'm going to throw out the first question. How did you get started playing trumpet?
Before I do that, it took me until 5th grade to learn how to spell that thing. So, God bless my beautiful wife, Beth, who I love to death, for going from a very simple name of Brown, that was her maiden name, with an E, to Ciesielski. I mean, good God Almighty, that is true love.
That is.
If ever there was.
Yeah. So, when I was a kid, I shopped in the Husky department. I joined when I was 9 years old, joined a drum and bugle corps, local in South Florida. And South Florida was littered with them. We would go to competitions. There'd be 20 full-size corps with 100 kids, 150 kids marching. And I was on a bass drum, and we were marching around at a community center, man, and I was playing my bass drum, and I learned first page of rudiments on the snare drum. Man, we had 50 drummers, and the corps director, Bob Spears, who really I credit for starting me, put his arm around me and said, "Come here, kid, stick your head in here." And there was just these boxes and boxes and boxes of those Boy Scout bugles with the red, white, and blue, and the picture of the bugle on the side. I took it home. My dad taught me taps and reveille, of all things, the first night. And then after about a week, he was like, I can't do anything with this. This kid's already better than me. Bought me a trumpet, and that was the beginning of the slow downward spiral trumpet career.
As the handcuffs were being latched.
Yes.
Exactly.
So was that your upbringing then? Was in South Florida? Where did it take you from there?
Yeah, I was born in Baltimore. We moved down to South Florida. We were there for 7 years, and then I came up. And I was so lucky. We lived a real rural area, super rural. Like the chickens that Purdue was growing far outnumbered the people by tens and tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. So super small town. But I went to Bennett Junior High, and my middle school band director, Mr. Harris, Melvin Harris, was a trumpet player. But he knew about 6 bars of music on every instrument. He actually paid attention in his methods classes. And I was so impressed with this guy, man. He was just had great energy. We had a marching band. We kicked butt, man. We were doing stuff that was way over our pay grade. And that was a fantastic, motivating foundation for me. I went to high school there, and then went to college at Towson University and studied under Hank Levy, and got out, and then once again, continued the downward spiral, played in a couple of R&B bands, and then wound up in Nashville, and started the recording thing, man. And it's just, what a great town, what a great scene. And I'm a very lucky dude.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I think that our members would really find interesting is, like, you've recorded so many you've been on so many recordings over the years. How did you get involved in that? What led you over to Nashville, and how did you get into that whole world?
Excuse me, the lady that I was dating at the time, we were hanging out, we were watching Letterman, David Letterman, and Lyle Lovett was on there, and he had the large band, and it was 4 saxophones, and I thought, golly, what a cool gig. I remember we had our TV mounted up like one of those hospital TV things in the corner there, just kind of laying there and thinking about it, and I said, man, that's the gig right there, that's a dream gig right there. And she said, well, I think we ought to move to Nashville. And I said, what in the world are they going to do with a bugle player in Nashville? You know, and so she flipped the channels over to TNN, and it was Nashville Now. They had a big country band with 4 background singers and these 2 little horn players on stools over in the corner. I'll do it for you. Over there, right? Not over there, but over there. Yeah. Okay. And I thought to myself, they were playing "Come to Jesus" and whole notes over country tunes, and I thought, shoot, I could do that. And I came to Nashville and said, all right, let's go. And I'm still waiting for a regular TV show 25 years later. But that was really the motivating thing. And so when I came into town, I was on the General Jackson, which is a riverboat that floats up and down the Cumberland River, and they do a dinner show. And I played in the pit and met a bunch of the guys that were involved in the scene, and just kind of every once in a while, we were so broke, man, I would take a night off. I think I was making $100 or $125 a night. This is, early 90s. And I didn't know what to do with all that money. But we found stuff to do with it because we were always broke. But I'd take a night off and go sit in with a big band, and one night it was October, and there was this little rehearsal band, and it was a Monday night, and I went over, and the band leader, who was a trumpet player, said, I don't want you to play lead in the first set, I want you to play in the second set. It was a split lead book. And I said, okay. And so I played, and then the second set, and into this little bar called the Sutler, which was really narrow and really long. We played to the short side. I mean, if you were in the first 3 rows, your nose was bleeding from just the sheer volume of the band. This little lady walked in, little short red-haired lady, and sat down. Unbeknownst to me, the band leader had talked to Shelby Lynn, who is a country crooner. She had just done a record called Temptation, which was like a Texas swing thing, and she was going on a Christmas tour. She needed a lead trumpet player, and she came in to hear me. And as I was walking out, she said, hey, come here. I said, what's up? Shelby, I was verklempt because she was a superstar. She said, I want to hire you as my trumpet player for a 6-week tour. We're going to open up for Kenny Rogers. We did 6 days a week, 2 shows a day. We made $750 a week. I can't ever remember being happier playing music in my life. I met so many cool people, including Charles Rose from the Muscle Shoals Horns down there of fame and the Malaco Records and all that stuff. And Charles started calling me for sessions. Right around the same time, the big, tall trumpet player that was on that band, Rod McGaha, who is an incredible artist and photographer, great trumpet player, really gifted photographer. Best of all, he's just one of the best humans I've ever met. Turned me on to my first gospel record. You got to call this guy Vinnie. And I went in and did it. And that was an account that with a guy named Lloyd Berry, I did probably 2,000, maybe 2,500 records with. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I tried to show up and play good. At that time, I wasn't really the nicest person on the face of the planet. Much different now, although I'll let you be the judge of that. I was really lucky because I was just a hard practicer, a hustler, and he just took a shine to me, and it just kind of went from there.
So, and we can see by the video shot here, you've got microphones set up and everything. So, and I know that you do a lot of recording in your own studio. So tell us about that.
Man, it's a killer space. We just moved in September. I was in a bedroom at our old place, which was nice, but it was small, and it was carpet on the floor, and it's just all the sound got really sucked out of the end of the horn. You had to really, really work the sound post to get it to sound that brilliant fat sound that you hear, that you love. You know, Jerry Hay and Gary Grant and Chuck Finley and all those cats. Those are my heroes and the people that set the bar for me, which I haven't even come close to, but I'm still trying really hard. So this is the bonus room above the garage. First of all, it's got an incredible view. You can't see it out the window, but it's just beautiful, green and trees and all that stuff. It's 25 by 25. Took the carpet out, put some engineered hardwood floor in here. Got a barrage of really great microphones, including the one that you're looking at here, the Barclay Infinity. Michael Barclay, a good friend of mine over in Northern Ireland, and a great trumpet player, and just happens to be a genius with regard to designing ribbon microphones. I got a Royer 121 and a couple of really cool room mics.
Where are the room mics?
If you could
show us,
you could see them. They're kind of like, Paul really likes this.
Yeah.
You knew it was coming, Vinny.
He does all those shows and, Aladdin and all that stuff, but I think his real love is disco. And that's why you like this.
Or choreography of some sort.
Choreography, which that was not. Yeah, they're
jazz hands.
You ain't right, boy. That sun in sunny California is starting to get to you, man.
Hey, my career's in Broadway now. Always keep them guessing. So tell us more about your recording setup.
It's really killer. I have those microphones, and they just, if you have a beautiful sound, which I think we all agree, we've talked about this before. I think sound is the sound that's coming out the end of your horn, no matter how technically proficient you are, no matter what it is absolutely the most important thing. I think Mr. Adam really had it right. Make a beautiful sound on the trumpet. No matter what you want to do, you want to be in a Cuban, in the Cuban All-Stars, or if you want to be in a brass quintet, make the most beautiful sound, followed very, very, very closely by feel, right here. And you can build a career on those very things. So if you're putting a good sound into these microphones, they work themselves. It's really incredible. You just get a good level. I have an Apollo X4, which is a 4-input, super easy to use by Universal Audio. I go into Logic, and that's about it. When I send a mix, basically like you guys do, like most guys do, somebody sends me an MP3. Hey man, this is what we want. We want an intro. We want going into the chorus. Make sure you get the guitar lick. Da 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 da. We kind of do the talk through, and then I record. I have been doing like 4 trumpet passes and 2 or 3 flugelhorn passes, and people are responding to it. They're really digging it because you get that low and mid with the flugelhorn, and then 1 trumpet pass down low, 2 in the middle register, and then you put the sparkle on top with that stuff. But Logic is super easy. And I don't do a lot of processing. I don't do any compression. I mean, I've been working for close to 50 years now on making an incredible sound out of the trumpet. I do not want to compress it and squash it and make it smaller. I just want, they're going to do what they're going to do. So when I send them an MP3, it's a horn heavy mix with a little bit of reverb. I have an R4, which is a product that I really, it's got like 50 presets. Every single one of them is just stellar. And I send it on and then I print them dry and send them on. But it's a great space. And I can get 3 or 4 horn players in here, especially during the pandemic. I had, it was me and another player, and we were socially distanced, and we, kept our masks on while we were talking. And it was really cool. It's a great, wonderful, super lucky setup.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've heard some of those things you've put out with the multiple trumpets and flugelhorns, and they sound wonderful over on your Instagram area. I guess we can, that people can look you up there, and if they want to check out a little bit of your stuff as well. I know you put up a lot of your playing there, but that's cool. So, what I was going to ask you a little bit about is what's your day like typically when you're, because because the pandemic has maybe slowed you down a little bit, but it hasn't brought you to a standstill like a lot of us that are primarily in the live music industry. So you've been continuing to work throughout this last year, which is really admirable. And it's part of the reason I think Paul and I both, said we got to get our studios happening and get going. So now I'm starting to pick up recording sessions. Paul is, and it's been nice, But when you have sessions and stuff, I mean, you're still practicing. I know you've told me you get up early in the morning and stuff, but what's your trumpet practice routine and performance recording thing like? How much time do you practice when you're recording?
I would consider myself a voracious practicer. Most of the time I really enjoy it. It's cyclical like everything else, but I will regularly put in a 5 or 6 hour day if I'm not recording. I have a routine that I've been working on since I got to town here in Nashville. And it basically is long tones, flexibilities. It kind of wakes up the chops. The first part of it is a warm up, and the rest of it is kind of a maintenance thing. Big believer in the chromatic scale. I think the chromatic scale really covers a lot of ground. The turnarounds visit almost every impossible finger combination that you can do. I play everything in my routine on I just changed mouthpieces, man. It's the first time in years. I was playing on a 1.5C, and I went to Pickett, Blackburn, and tried a Rex
Richardson.
Yeah, the Omni series. I think he has a 1, a 2, and a 3, and I picked up the 2, and it was like we were old friends. It's really good. It's not a straight, kind of legit sound or a jazz sound, because you can put a little zip on it. And I can play all over the horn. My high G's don't sound like they do on my commercial setup, but a really, really an amazing piece. I do my whole routine on that. So that can be anywhere from, if I'm headed out the door, it's usually a half an hour, 45 minutes. Or if I can turn that into 3 or 4 hours pretty easily by the number of times I repeat everything. As we've talked about before, this right here is the key to everything, in my opinion. Swelling, oh yeah, good. I saw Paul taking a pull earlier. It's absolutely amazing what water does for your chops and for your body and really for your mind. I mean, it just keeps you trimming along. So I will play routine and warm up and take care of emails and kind of rest as much as I play until probably 11 or 11:30 from 7 o'clock, eat a meal. And then I start recording around noon. I'll try and have lunch and then start cutting away. Sometimes, man, it really flows. The stuff that I'm doing out of here is almost all exclusively head charts. So we're recording, I will record an intro, an 8-bar intro, and then I'll stack the entire intro with all of the instruments that I'm going to use. If the artist wants a trombone, which happened last week, I hire a trombone player. I have done in the past where I played valve trombone or where I played baritone on a piece. I did one not too long ago because it was one note. The entire thing was like a keyboard thing, and it ended, and they wanted that note. And it didn't make any sense to hire a trombone player for that, for the one note. But if I want that authentic sound, I'm going to hire a trombone player and bring him in here. So sometimes the tunes take, a couple of hours, and sometimes I work into the evening, and if I get stuck on an idea, I take a break. So those days can be 6-8 hour days. Try and get my exercise in there in the middle, riding a bike. And then I reserve the evening and the weekends for time with my wife and the kiddos, the grandkids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to balance that stuff out.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, practicing that much, I mean, you have a lot of endurance. I mean, so do you ever find yourself worn out if you practice from 7 to noon and then you start a recording session after that?
The times that I get worn out are if I have multiple, kind of ball busting sessions day after day. If I do I try and do one song a day so I can really give it my full attention. I have done more. Back in the day, man, when I first started in Nashville, we'd do six or 7 minute songs fully stacked in one session or 2 sessions over a day, 6 hours of just like Rocky Balboa beating you in the face with the side of beef. I try and take it easy. I find that as I get a little bit older, the recovery time is a little bit less, but I have definitely picked up the horn in the morning after 2 or 3 of those days and been able to make a sound on it, but it was not pretty. So the cool thing about my routine is I know, because I've been doing it for 25 years, every single stinking day, that if I play through the routine and I'm patient, that by the time I get to the end of the routine, I'm ready for anything that's going to come at me. And so I've been able to develop it for my chops and my situation and the way that I beat myself up to really be able to get through those kind of things. So yeah, I do occasionally, but because I play so much, it's really not as bad. And if I take a day off maybe every 10 days. The day I come back, I feel like a superhero.
I know I think it's advisable to take a day off every once in a while. I went through a period where it was almost 3 years practically with never taking a day off, and I think and this was like, late high school, early college kind of thing. I was fanatical about it and playing a lot, practicing a lot. And in college, you're playing in all the different groups. And then I was gigging, and so it just really beat me up. And I realized that, especially now as we get a little older, hopefully we get a little smarter, but it is advisable to take a day off. I mean, I've heard stories of great players saying they take a day off a week, when they can,
Yeah.
I heard Bobby Finley's, back, when he was so busy through the 70s, 80s, he played 5 days a week and always took 2 days off. Whether that was true every single week, I don't know. But, and then of course, Herseth, you hear the stories of him taking the summer off when the symphony was down for a month or something, or 2 months, I guess, right? And he would put the horn down for a month and then start ramping back up for the last few weeks before the symphonies kick back in again.
One of the guys over on Positive Trumpers Worldwide, Axel, who is principal with, I think, Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries there. He's a principal trumpet. And he says that he takes 4 or 6 weeks off every year during the summer and then just starts from square one and gradually, but it's like when you take cycling off for the winter, and the trainer is good, but it's just not the same. And so I start out and I ride around the neighborhood for half an hour, and every day I add 5 minutes to it. And then before you know it, I'm riding for 90 minutes. And it's the same way with the trumpet. I just feel like if you combine the day off with the water, proper nutrition, and taking care of yourself, just don't be stupid. Don't drink too much. Definitely don't do any drugs that are not good for you. You know what I mean? Some guys, anyway, drink plenty of water, eat good food, and that day off, man, if you don't come back after that day off and feel like $1 million, you're definitely doing something that needs to be squared away. And honestly, man, finding somebody who can be that, like, I could never teach you guys anything about playing the trumpet because you're both amazing players. But what I could do is take some of the variables out of your routine and take some of the variables out of your life that, if you agreed to do them, would improve the general, quality of your playing. Tyler Yeager came to me years ago, good friend of mine, great young player. He's in the service band up here. He's about to get out. Just can't say enough good things about him. He's a monster player, especially in the style of the big band stuff. Really naturally gifted, just double C's, plays jazz, plays legit, pick up, he'll play a double C and then he'll go, hey, let me see that Yamaha piccolo of yours. And then he plays the Brandenburg on it. I'm like, get out, I hate you. But he came to me and he said, man, I'm having some problems, and I don't know what to do. And, he's taken from Bobby Shoe and he knows Bergeron and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, I can't teach you nothing about the trumpet, because stuff that works for me because of my situation will never work for you. I said, tell me about your diet. He said, and he would not mind me sharing this. I said, how many times a week do you go to eat fast food? Oh, 3 times a week. I said, what do you get? 3 double cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, and a sweet tea. And I said, 3 times a week. And he said, yeah. And he's like 6'1", 165 pounds. I mean, he's a great player. He's skinny. He's a nice guy. He's hard to hate, but it's possible. So so I said, dude, what about your water intake? He said, water. And so we got him started on the water. And aside from cursing my name, peeing 15 times a day, 3 days later, he called me on the phone. He said, man, it's like a miracle. He said, it's just unbelievable. I'm like, you were dehydrated and you're probably about to damn die. You know what I mean? So, and now he does it on the regular, and that, changed his life. So, yeah, I don't know where I started with that, but that's where I finished.
Well, no, that's great. Yes, and I think it's important, and especially as we get older, you got to take. My father is 88 right now, and he has this saying that I love, and he says, "Your body's like an old car, like a car. The older it gets, the more maintenance it needs, and you got to put your mind on it, And my wife is always, she's in the medical area of her career and that, but she's always big into the water thing. And I don't drink it enough, and it's thanks to not only her, but guys like you that are badgering about it and reminding me that there's other positive things that come out of it, especially not just for my health, but especially when I know, wow, this can help my trumpet playing. Well, I'm in, and it's free,
It's free. It is free, and you don't have to practice it. I'll tell you one other thing, man, that has really helped as far as the health stuff goes, man. And this is, this is kind of a polarizing concept. No, it's not religion or politics. So just rest assured. There's a guy named Dan Harris. Dan is a weekend anchor on Good Morning America. He also does news stories during the week, and he's been a news reporter for the last couple of decades. All the way back to like when Peter Jennings, he was in Afghanistan. He was one of the first ones that was over there. He was at Ground Zero the day after September 11th, 2001. And he stayed at a hotel for 6 weeks reporting on the thing, and wound up having a panic attack on air on Good Morning America. And if you see the video, it's really not that big a deal, but apparently almost got fired over it because he was doing a bunch of stupid stuff. He's got a book called 10% Happier. So I really like him. He's funny, and I like his style, so I bought it. And it really, it kind of caught me off guard because I didn't know what it was about at all. It turns out it's about his journey into meditation, right? And so I'm like, okay, and I'm folding my arms and I'm sitting back and I'm like, no. I just passed 30 days of meditating every day. They're guided meditations. He's got an app, it's a moneymaker. But man, I'll tell you what, bro, it has really started to change some perspectives for me. And when you start talking about the water thing, or eating late at night, or not getting on the bicycle, or whatever the deal is, and the way that they deal with this through being mindful and bringing it to the front of your mind. In other words, don't beat yourself up because you want to have a drink at night. Make it the focus of what you're doing and see what happens. Just kind of ride it out a little bit and kind of see what happens. And maybe it'll go away, but maybe it won't. And you'll have that drink and you'll be fine, but you're probably only going to have one, and then you're going to go to bed. It's really remarkable. So it's a book. And look, I don't have a dog in the hunt. Dan Harris, 10% Happier. It will really help you focus on the things that are super important, including reminding you, besides taping it to your hand with duct tape, it'll kind of get your mind to remind you, hey man, when's the last time I had a drink of water? And so it's really cool, super cool. Anyway.
Oh, that's some good stuff. I think it's really important when you practice. It's playing. I watched we recently posted up on our trumpet diagnostics group, this French horn player, wonderful player. Julie Landsman is her name. And she has a series of videos that are free that she shares with everybody, where she's teaching a lesson and showing the basics of the Caruso method. And something came to me the other day, because I had a chance to do a little bit of studying with him, and I've seen her videos, and I just thought, oh, well, we'll share those with everybody in our group. But, mindfulness when you practice, so many of us nowadays, they got their phones going, the screens over here and that, and the last thing you're focusing on is your actual playing. And to be in that moment makes a tremendous, I mean, you can get done in a 45 minutes what might take you 3 hours otherwise to do. But one thing she said in this video was about the tapping of your foot and the subdividing and the counting in. She did talk about I think it's the Indian concept of meditation, the monkey mind, where your mind goes crazy all the time. And that's me. I'm like borderline ADD, if not full blown ADD. But she talks about this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just that subdivision, especially that last 4 boy, it really focuses your mind like a laser on what's coming up. And I never knew that about that was part of what I knew that it was part of bringing all your muscles and your blow and your set and everything together. But I didn't realize that it's what's actually focusing all that as well.
And it helps you. I would think that it would help guys. I have seen so many cats that have been struggling with focal dystonia. You guys hip to focal dystonia?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Guys I know, and that are just, so what happens is the conductor says, this is one of the ways it manifests itself. 1, 2, 3, and you can't initiate the note in time. Everything else can be right about your chops. You can play high, you can play low, you can double tongue, you can triple tongue, but there's a separation here, from here to here, and you can't hit it in time. They've studied, initiating the note on 4 of the bar before, but it's inconsistent how long it takes. I mean, it's really remarkable. I could not agree more. I find myself, and it's interesting with meditation, like, there are certain things about trumpet playing that, maybe you want to focus on initiating the sound, or where your tongue is in the palate there inside of your mouth, or your fingers, or the way you're holding the horn, or the horn angle, or the amount of air that you're using. What meditation does is it allows you to be open to all of these things. So you're not just going to go attack, 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 you're just not going to do that. All these other things in the monkey mind are coming in and flowing in. And basically what happens is, which is really cool, I have bad tinnitus. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Sounds like cicadas, every 13 years. Awful. It's because of stupid rock and roll, and probably has something to do with my 20s in general.
Kids and their loud music.
Yeah, kids and their loud music. But thank God I wasn't a trombone player. Those guys.
I know. Wow, they really take a beating.
Oh my gosh. So sometimes I'll be playing and my tinnitus will really come into my consciousness, and I'm like, I got to get rid of that. I got to get rid of that. I got to, and you frack something, right? Basically, what mindfulness is telling you is, go ahead and let that wash over you. Go ahead and focus on that. And as you become more mindful and as you become more focused, it's not the predominant thought anymore. So you focus on it, you allow it to come in. Yes, this is happening right now. And then it just goes away. The first time it happened to me, I was like, I'm sitting there, all peaceful, and it happened. And I went, whoa, wait, hold on. I'm going to hit pause on the guided mouse. I said, wait, hold on a minute. So I backed it up and I tried it again, and it happened again. And I was like, oh, man. So it's really remarkable, really, really remarkable.
Yeah, just sometimes, well, in meditation, you acknowledge that things happen. You know, you're going to have these thoughts, but you just like you said, you let it pass, and you continue to go forward with what you were doing. And Paul, I mean, that's a little bit like qigong as well when we're doing some of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that, Vinny, I'm not sure if you knew, but both Bobby and I are, I guess we could say, practitioners of Qigong, you know, and that meditation and exercise and so on. And boy, that's been so helpful. I just want to say a little bit about Bell's palsy, if you guys don't mind, in that I would encourage people to not immediately self-diagnose them, you know, as Bell's palsy. Not that you shouldn't get on that right away, but there was an article that came out in the International Musician, I would say probably 12 to 15 years ago, about Bell's palsy. And at the time, I was trying to stay home more and not be on the road. And I got so many temporary gigs, like, okay, can you cover for this guy for 1 week, this guy for 2 weeks? And I'd be sent out like, you know, seemingly 12 hours notice, because these guys are going, they woke up one day and they started warming up and it didn't feel so good. And they thought, I've got that thing. What was that in the International Musician? Oh yeah, I've got Bell's palsy. That's it. That's why I'm having a little bit of a rough day warming up. So I'm not trying to say that Bell's palsy doesn't exist. It absolutely does. And I'm sure unfortunately, you know, there are people that this is a true affliction. And so please, my apologies, anybody, I'm not leading towards saying that you don't have it, but please just consider that there might be an alternative, which is, you know, get your mind engaged and in proper mechanics and so on. But by all means, also get it checked out by a doctor too.
I also think that there's several really good online kind of gurus with regard to that, and Bob Shue is one of them. You know, and honestly, man, if you think that listen, you're going to be able to tell, because in varying degrees, the left side of your face falls. And it's very similar symptoms to you having a stroke. So if you have Bell's palsy, you got it. If you're having a rough day warming up, that's because you drank too much dang tequila last night. I mean, let's face it, right? So I would agree with that. I would go into that with a little bit of caution. Same thing with the focal dystonia. It's like kind of the hip bad thing to have now. But you know, we've got friends that have got neuropathy and just constant pins and needles and pains and all that stuff. Look. Everybody's got something. Most of us trumpet players have at different times in our careers not been the nicest people on the face of the planet, whether it's the chicken or the egg. Some people just have to deal with themselves being a jerk, but everybody's got something. And until you walk a mile in their shoes, you know, you just don't know. I mean, we were having a conversation before. The three of us are all in a club that we don't want to be in, right? and so everybody's got their cross to bear. I think, you know, just kind of treating everybody with some kindness and some love, always telling the truth, man, that sometimes the truth is going to suck. And you're going to have to look at somebody and say, listen, man, I did this on a session and I have yet to forgive myself. 20 years ago. I said, look, this is a 12/8 blues for a guy named Bobby Blue Bland. I don't know whether you guys are hip to him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's the first out of 6 songs for the day. We're cutting horns live. And the second trumpet player came in. I'd never met him. Came in and first thing he did was drink a giant monster drink. Just so he's like chewing through his mouthpiece. And we're playing this thing and the intro ends on high G's, right? So we play it like 6 times and he is 2 octaves below me and he's rushing and he's missing notes. And I stopped and I said, dude, God only gave me so many of these high notes. You are going to have to get it together. And if you can't, we need to get somebody else in here. And of course the leader was like, whoa, easy, big fella, you know. Sometimes the truth is going to suck. How I would do that differently now is I would find a kinder and more loving way to communicate something similar, but maybe not in that brash of a manner.
Having heard that line, that doesn't sound like you were too harsh at all. So I think you should.
We're on the same boat, man. You know, so
yeah. Well, here's your absolution right now, because if I was there, I would have either said, get your shit together, because this is killing me 2 octaves up, or here, you play it. And have them do it once, and then they go, oh yeah, okay, I better get my shit together.
In between songs, we set up his mouthpiece as a bird bath outside, so I don't think he was playing any high G's that day. Sure.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I know we're running out of time, but we're talking about a little bit about these issues that have come, these health issues that have come into our lives. But you have, Vinnie, a story, basically, I think, of like triumph. With your health, with what we had talked about before. Why don't you share a little bit about that with our group? I think this is really inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go as quick as I can. So I'm 58, maybe 59 in December. So it's so I'm about halfway through my 58th year. When I was 25 years old, I was heavy. I'm much heavier than I am now. I was probably close to 300 pounds at that point. And one day on a gig, I sneezed, and I used to hold my sneezes in like that, like people do. And I felt this kind of shock on the back of my head. It felt like somebody, if you took a car battery and put it at the root of a tree and it went up the branches, you know what I mean? Right there, just about the size of a quarter. And I didn't really think much of it. I was like, that's kind of weird. And the next day I woke up and that spot was completely numb. I couldn't feel it at all. Matter of fact, that is ground zero right there. Several days later, I sneezed again. It came up over the top of my head, went down my face, and then several days later, went down my body. So basically, everything on the left side of my body is, at that time, is numb, right? Completely numb, so all the way down. Went to the doctor, found out, I didn't know the name of it at the time, but it's called syringomyelia. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Basically what it is it's a cyst inside of your spinal cord. Mine happens to be about the size of a golf pencil. Fills with liquid, puts pressure on the left side, so everything is numb. So straight down the middle of my body, middle of my nose, chops, everything on the left is like when your leg is asleep and you try and stand up and you fall down. It's exactly like that. Not pins and needles, just completely dead. So I'll show you this. This is a toothpicker. Just happen to have it over here. Being able to hold that like this is an absolute miracle. When I got out of the hospital, it was the second time they'd ever done the operation on it. They took the back of my spinal column off, and they put a laser hole in it and drained it, and it just dissipated down. So the doctor said it's never going to get better, but this will stop the progress of the symptoms, we're hoping. When I got out of the hospital, I couldn't walk. I had zero balance. When I was standing on 2 feet, I had
vertigo.
Vertigo, yeah.
Yeah, vertigo. And I was 300 pounds. So went through the healing process. At the time, there was no PT, no nothing. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, they were so new at it, Fast forward now, I've lost 100 pounds and kept it off for almost 20 years. I ride a bicycle on the regular. My best year was about 7,500 miles. I aspire to do that again, but time doesn't really lend itself to doing that. I am healthy and happy, and my life has changed so much. It's really incredible. The fact that I can sit here and grab that toothpicker, okay, like that. When it first happened, this is what I had to do. So I would take my right hand, which is fully functional, and I would have to, this is in an R&B band where we're playing Chicago tunes, so we got zero rest. So I would take the horn off my face and almost immediately have to guide my fingers into the holes because I couldn't feel where the rings were. And I would squeeze it so hard that my knuckles would get white. It's absolutely incredible that Colicchio made it through that time period. Really, really incredible. So now I ride the bike. I have a much, much better attitude. I've lost the weight. I'm healthy as a horse. My blood pressure is 102 over 52.
Wow.
Don't be jealous. and it really has a lot to do with, when you're struggling on the outside, it's difficult to be, beautiful on the inside too. So those things kind of passed each other as I hated myself less because I was a big fat slob. I loved myself more. It may not be the healthy way, but that's how it worked. This is the real miracle. 6,000 records since 1992. The fact that I can make any kind of a noise on the horn is an absolute miracle, because I still am pretty much in the center and I can't feel half of my chops.
Wow.
The fact that I can perform on the level that I do, and somebody apparently likes it, at least 6,000 producers like it, right? It's just nothing short of a miracle. And when I sit back and think about that and let that kind of wash over me, it's just like, there just aren't words to explain my gratitude and my how humbled I am by the whole thing. It's really remarkable. Really, really remarkable. Just incredible. So listen, if you're whole-bodied through the pandemic, wherever, if you're whole-bodied and you don't take advantage of the gift, if you ignore the gift that you've been given, and you don't practice, and you don't do this, and you don't do things the right way, you don't find the resources, you don't get the best gear that you can afford and play to the best of your abilities, then you can always look at somebody like me, because I will tell you that 100 out of 100 trumpet players, if this happened, would have quit a long, long time ago. You just have no idea. But again, Paul, like we were talking about before, everybody's got something, right? Chip Krotz, the great Chip Krotz. You guys know Chip?
I do.
Big in the drum corps, big in the drum. He was a soloist with the Blue Devils, monster player, and an incredible educator. He works at Georgia Tech with the jazz program. He was the brass caption head for Santa Clara for the last 4 years, and now he's with the Blue Devils again. So he's kind of back home. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he woke up in the morning, boom, Bell's palsy. And he documented his, and it was real. I mean, he was down like this. And he documented his trip back from it. But the cool thing is that he researched it, and he did it holistically, and he went to regular doctors, and he talked to every single resource. And if you got that problem, he's a good resource to talk to, kind of what we were talking about before, Paul. But this guy went from already being a world-class human being and a world-class talent and a world-class teacher, and elevated himself through this, what can be a devastating career-changing injury, and elevated himself. And now he's even more positive, which is hard to believe, and a better player now than he was then. It's phenomenal, man. So if you got it and you're ignoring it, what's that? Hello, Kelly? Hi. Hello. Anyway, if you got it and you're ignoring it, I'm not a big shame guy, but shame on you. You know what I mean? Gosh darn it! Really, seriously, take advantage of it. Go to where the music that you love is being made. If you want to be on a record, go to LA or come to Nashville, because you know why? There's always work for great players. There's always work everywhere for great players. You may not walk into town and go, "Hey, I'm Trumpet Vinnie. Let the gigs pour over me." It's not going to happen like that. But eventually, the cream is going to rise to the top. You got a good attitude. You're a great player. You show up. You're a good hang. You're a good human being. You're honest. You're going to work, and you're going to work your tail off. That's just the bottom line.
That's exactly what Bobby Shue told me when I was 17 years old. You know, he always said, cream always rises to the top, and you got to be persistent. It'll pay off in the long run. So, but Vinnie, thank you so much for spending a little time with us. You are most inspiring. You got a great story. You're a phenomenal player, and thanks for sharing everything about your setup and everything. It's really cool to see it.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really enjoy every time we talk. I enjoy it even more.
And your choreography is getting even better.
I'm a limber jazz hands kind of guy.
All right. Thanks again,
Fabulous.
Vinnie.
Thank you.
We'll see you.